Hello and welcome back to our reading of Auraicept na Éces, the Scholar's Primer, being the text of the Ogham Tract. So we are continuing. There is a playlist linked below which has the first part of this, so you can have the overview. Do encourage you to go back and check that out. But we're going to go through this again. And again, it's reading and commentary because they can be quite difficult to go through. So I want to just make sure that you have access to all of the authentic resources. I talk a lot about going to source culture, about making sure that you're learning from source. And here's me putting my money where my mouth is, literally my time, my money, my effort, my energy, where my mouth is to help you do just that. So we had left here about birch, and we're going to look at the groupings now. So how many divisions of Ogham are there and what are they? Not hard. 4, B5, H5, M5, A5, besides diphthongs. So what this is talking about here is what are called acme, or acma singular. And ACMA means a family grouping of 5, basically. It is actually the tattoo that I have on my hand. That's what that reads. So what's happening here is the original Ogham groups start with B. So there are 4 groups of 5 each. So they start with B. The second group starts with H. The third group starts with M. And the fourth group starts with A, besides the diphthongs. So then we go into the trees itself. Now, I know in previous videos and even in the last video, we were talking about trees. And it's really important, I'm just going to say it every time it comes up, it's really important to understand that while there are tree associations with Ogham, the Ogham is not just about trees and it's not about Celtic wisdom. There is a video on this channel that I will put up at the end of it about the neo-pagan nonsense, and a lot of that is to do with the Celtic tree calendar, scare quotes, so-called Celtic tree calendar. So watch the end and you will get the video link there if you want to have a look at that. So how many groups of Ogham? Not hard. And this is an interesting, right? It's the question and then the answer in the Irish. So the question is asked directly and then not hard. And you'll hear my partner John use this regularly, and it's kesht is question, and then the answer is not hard or not hard to say. So this is a kind of a call and response that if you think about learning in an oral tradition, now I know that this is written down, but it comes from the original wisdom that was all spoken, it was all about words and learning. So the memory of a scholar was very, very important. And this call and response was how they studied and how they learned, I believe, and also how they were quizzed. So how many groups of Ogham? Not hard. 3, viz. 8 chieftain trees, 8 peasant trees, and 8 shrub trees. Now, these are the divisions of the wood, Auraicept, and this is from another, or is repeated anyway, in another text called, I can't remember, it's one of the Brehon law texts or manuscripts. So this is that same concept that there are divisions of trees, and the chieftain trees would be alder, oak, hazel, vine, ivy, sloe, firs, and heath. The peasant trees would be birch, quicken tree, willow, ash, whitethorn, whin, apple tree. And as to their letters, all other shrubs are peasant trees. So 3/8 are 24, which is interesting because what we haven't talked about is these diphthongs, and these were called the forfeather, or the extra letters, basically. And they are, remember that the Ogham is written, it's an alphabet, or a Celtic writing system, or just a writing system, which was designed to express the sounds of the Now, I'm not a linguist. I don't know the definition of diphthong, but what you will find in the forfeather or the extra letters is combinations of letters that make sounds. Now, you get some of this through the actual the 20 feather of the as well. I know this all sounds very confusing, but honestly, stick with me. You will get there, right? What I do suggest is, as you are listening to this, that you have your guide to and you can access that free. There's a link below to your free guide to but you can also just go to ogham.academy/guide, and you will be able to download and have a visual of the letters as we're walking through this. So, have it printed out or have it up on your screen as you're listening to this as well. Okay. So this is Latin and I don't understand it. But I'm not going to read it. I don't go there. Sorry. I don't do the Latin. I shall speak primum of the woods of the trees, whence names have been put for the letters. Query, well then, whence are the vowels and consonants named? Not hard. It is from the school, again, more Latin, sorry. It is from the school of Phineas Farsi, to wit, the school of poetry which Phineas sent throughout the world to learn the languages. There were 25 that were noblest of them, so that it is their names that were put for the Be, Lewis, Nin of the Now, this is the first letter, this is the second letter, and this is the fifth letter of the first ACMA grouping. So Beth, Lewis, Nin. And Lewis can be also, I often say with the older Irish, it's Lus or Lus, but it can also be Lish in modern Irish. If you're reading this in modern Irish, that would be Lish. Pronunciation can be a little bit difficult because we're also dealing with sounds from a language that has, sounds from the Irish language. I'm not helping the confusion here. Sounds from the Irish language, from a language that changed significantly over centuries and millennia. So we're dealing with maybe 2,000 years of an evolved language. So there are going to be different pronunciations through different versions of it. And sometimes when they are being spelled out in various formats, my brain will pronounce it in a different format. I don't know. It's just what happens. So both the vowels and consonants, and there were 4 who were the noblest of these again, so that it was their names that were given the 7 principal vowels. So what we have here is Ogham, On, Ur, Edad, and Idad. And I am blanking over the names of the forfeather. The forfeather I haven't really been using as such as part of my personal practice. I do include it in my teaching just so that you have resources on it, but it's not actually part of my personal practice. So I just don't have them now to hand, or to brain rather. But these would be 2 of the forfeather, and these would be some other ones. So then you have the fourth ACMA, which is this grouping here. And then we go into the forfeather, which again are the extra letters. And what it says about them is they added other 3 to them, so that from these are named the other 3 diphthongs, wherefore 1, 2, 3 are classified apart. So this is again where they're the forfeather, they're classified apart. It is from the trees of the forest that names were given to the letters metaphorically. Moreover, Beha, B, is from the birch of the forest for the first letter on the path of the Ogham alphabet. Lus or lish, again, as we have figured out, is L, that is elm in the forests. Fern, F, that is alder in the forest. Sol, S of the Ogham, that is willow, again in the forest. Nin, N of the Ogham, to wit, maw of spear or nettles in the woods. Ua, H of the Ogham, that is test tree or whitethorn on account of its thorniness. Dur, D of the Ogham, is oak, again in the forest. Thinna, T of the Ogham, to wit, holly or elderberry in the forest. Col, C of the Ogham, to wit, hazel in the forest. Quirth, Q of the Ogham, is holly in the forest or quicken tree or aspen. Then we are on to the third acma, which is M again. Win, vine, M, to wit, mead from it. Girth, cornfield, G, to wit, fear, gettle, ngettle, to wit, broom. Straff, STR, that can sometimes be written as Z, willow brake in the forest. On, O, to wit, furze or ash. Ur, U, to wit. So, sorry, we've gone from straff or straff, win, Girth, Ngettel, straff. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Rish should also be there. Don't know why that skipped out here. But then we moved into the other. So they've skipped one of the letters of the. Let me just check back if we skipped any others. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. 1, 2, 3. Weird. This is the problem with the older texts. You are dealing with manuscripts that were written and rewritten and rewritten. This is why you will often have other manuscripts which fill in the gaps, and sometimes you have to look through them. This is why at the Ogham Academy, when I present you information, it is as complete as possible, because I have looked at all the different sources that are available, all the different versions of those sources. I have done all this work so that you don't have to. But I have committed to going through this confusing source, so we shall continue. So what we're missing here is Rish, and that would be the 5th letter. Then we're also missing Ogham, which would be the first letter of the 4th acma. And then we would go into on, or, edad, idad. Right, so on, O, to wit, furze or ash. Or, U, to wit, thorn. Edad, E, to wit, yew. Ida, or idad, I, to wit, service tree. Now we were into the forfeather here. So ebat, EA, to wit, elecampaign. Or OI, to wit, spindle tree. Illan, UI, to wit, ivy. Peen, IO of the Ogham, pine, again in the forest. Pretty sure there's another. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so that's 4. Okay, then, sorry, it carries on. Hence are named carapina, gooseberries. Ifin, again, secundum alios is the name of that letter. Emmenchol, witch hazel. AE, again, to wit, C doubled. According to fact or according to form, to wit, C across C in its form. So Emmenchol would be maybe this one. can't remember what the other ones are. Anyway, I will do a video at some point on the forfeather specifically. If you would like that, please comment below and let me know. Okay, so we're actually going to finish that here. I know we're only getting through a couple of pages, but as you can see, they're quite dense, and I really don't want to give you too much to digest before the next one. Okay, so we leave it there, and we will come back on page 277 the next time. And again, the link to this is below, so you can read the text for yourself. You can read ahead if you want. You can look at what was before it. I am putting up a video at some point here so that you can listen about the Ogham and the tree stuff and why, unfortunately, a lot of the current Ogham information available to you is just a load of crap. And don't forget the free guide that you can download. There is a link below, or you can go to ogham.academy/guide. And that's like a 7 or a 9 page or something guide that will give you the visuals on the Ogham and some pronunciation support and some just gentle divination meanings. This is for your personal use only. Unfortunately, there are people who are doing their mediumship with my personal Ogham divination meanings that they got from a free guide and never did any of the rest of the work. So please don't do that. Please don't be that guy. That is not in right relationship, not at all. So anyway, we will leave it there. ogham.academy/guide, and you will have your very own copy of the free guide to Ogham.